fight to the very last with your armies and hold the line. Greetings everyone, I'm Sophis. The Archon Prophecy DLC is now here, and with it the Architect culture. I'll showcase a build that was quite effective and discuss the impact this culture and DLC has had on builds overall. This will be slightly different from my usual build videos. The Architect culture has two features that make it stand out: its ability to play with affinities and the affinity incarnate trait you can give all your units. If you have 3 of any affinity, your cities can build a monument attuned to that affinity. It has 4 total tiers, and each gives you 1 more of the affinity that you made the dedication to. In theory, this means each of your cities can add 4 affinity to your empire. In practice, unless you have outstanding generation of Wonderstone, you'll get around 4 of an affinity before your match is close to done. If you play very long campaigns, or somehow get lucky and acquire a lot of magic materials to boost your Wonderstone income, you might get more. There's at least 2 good reasons to try and get more tiers built. First, Affinity Incarnate. Each tier means more damage to every unit in your culture. Second, this can give you access to tomes you otherwise would not unlock with regular progression. This makes Architect very good for hybrid builds. The faction you've seen fighting on the backdrop up until now is made in that spirit. For those familiar with Magic the Gathering terminology, think of it as the Boros Legion, and that is pretty much the build. The core is playing into the new Tome of Virtue, as Virtuous Spirit permits you to ignore 50% of casualties. Combined with the Tenacious Form trait, you add Spawnkin from Tome of the Horde to the mix, and the penalty of increasing your unit size is all but nullified, all the while giving you an extra 20% damage to your non-hero units. I've also chosen Inner Radiance for extra damage when hit and quick reflexes, all to capitalize on the strategy of enduring even when hit. To round that out, Careless was a chosen flaw, given much of this build compensates this downside. To give you some initial Chaos affinity so that we can focus more on Order tomes at first, both society traits are Chaos aligned, with Swift Marchers and Prolific Swarmers. Tier 1 we want Horde and Discipline, to boost our damage and healing. At Tier 2, Virtue and Beacon. Defenders, which are our mainline cultural unit for this build, will benefit from Mighty Meek, and we need Virtuous Spirit to make sure their casualties don't matter. At Tier 3, you might be thinking, Cleansing Flame, but not necessarily. As the focus is Endurance, Sanctuary has Keeper's Mark, to let us be as reckless as we may want with our defenders in battle. After that, could you pick Cleansing Flame? Yes, but dragons would give you Draconian Transformation, which is much better than Burning Shenanigans. Let me explain. Natural regeneration not only boosts your healing between battles, but also lets your defenders heal on their own, without input from your supports in battle. But what is really interesting from that transformation is the dragon unit type. Dragons gain Draconic Rage, which below a certain HP threshold gives them 30% extra damage. So in effect, you have soldiers that do not care for casualties, and that in fact get stronger at lower health, with the Spawnkin and the Draconic Rage being large percentile boosts to your damage. It only gets better once you consider this also multiplies the damage from Affinity Incarnate. So if you still really want to play with Cleansing Flame, I suggest you make that substitution at Tier 4. Tome of the Archon is a strong recommendation at this tier, due to its minor transformation Pure Soul to let your units have a self-cleanse. Holy Aura also adds to your passive damage, affecting enemies just because you finished your turn adjacent to them. Your second tome at this level will vary based on what you prefer. Again, Cleansing Flame is an option. Even if it is a lower tier tome, it synergizes well. If you prefer campaign performance to boost your economy and let you sustain more armies, I suggest Prosperity instead. And if you really want to make use of all the extra affinity your monument afforded, grab Chaos Channeling. Honestly, Chaos Channeling is the best pick. You get a lot more fire synergy through Scion of Flame. Vengeful Flames add yet more passive damage, you get Lava Walk, immunity to burning, you set terrain on fire. Really, that one transformation does a lot for your faction, and it is simply a passive, not an enchantment. It's a pretty strong combination. If you're the sort that doesn't have a need to have 2 tomes of each tier and then cap it off with a tome at tier 5, honestly, this is the best moment to pick Cleansing Flame. God Emperor is nice and all, but this final, last big synergy is probably a far bigger payoff for your careful setup. You'll get even more debuff clearing, apply damage over time to your enemies, and remove their buffs. And on top of that, any support unit that wasn't inflicting condemn to lower enemy status resistance will now have the ability to do it. And if you feel at this stage that defenders aren't as strong, you'll have both the paladins from Virtue and the Pyre Templar to replace that front line. That said, due to the heavy Chaos affinity from this build, you will get pretty far in the Chaos branch of the Imperium tree as you play, which means you'll have the chance to get the upgrade that gives you a chance to randomly hire units from tier 1 and 2 as a post-battle reward. So it's not as though you need elite soldiers. You will definitely have the numbers to continue your campaign momentum, and even if your armies are wounded and beat up, that's part of what unlocks their damage anyway. Before we wrap, I'd just like to make a quick note of the new hero class, the Battle Saint. It is a pretty strong class you can build as a support, a frontliner, or both. I would recommend picking Paladin, Fervorous Disciple, then Defensive Master so that you can get to Smite. This combination results in you automatically recovering 3 Fervor every turn and 1 every time you land an attack, which makes charging up Smite very easy. It's a free action and can do a lot of damage, especially on vulnerable and debuffed enemies. I think it blends quite well with this faction style, and that is what I have for you today. Architect is such a versatile culture that lets you make so many combinations that I am still looking into other possible fun combos. I hope you're having fun with Archon Prophecy and having a good day. See you on the next one.